We started today with agriculture, with our process and statewide agriculture folks. And we're ending our day today with agriculture and food systems. So I think that's really appropriate for our community here. Agriculture is a leading industry in Indiana County and in Pennsylvania in general. So I have to say, I graduated from the College of Agricultural Sciences at Penn State with a degree in environmental resource management. So I know a little bit, like not nearly as much as these folks, but I do know a little bit about agriculture and how important it is to our economies, to our people, to all of us that are in that field, so to speak. So anyway, I'll get started here, and I'm going to introduce our panelists. We have three great panelists here. The first, our first panelist is Alexis Shank, and she goes by Lex. And let's. Well, it's been a long day, hasn't it? I met Lex through the Indiana County Conservation District, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that. But she is an Indiana County native. She holds a bachelor's in biology from University of Pittsburgh, and has been a farmer for almost 10 years. The past 9 years has run an organic, no-till, diversified vegetable farm in Commodore, PA. It's a little bit north of us here in Indiana. In addition to farming, she works as an agricultural conservationist specializing in specialty crop, food systems, and community engagement at the Conservation District. She knows tons about plant and soil science, biointensive cropping systems, cover cropping, integrative pest management, high tunnel crop production, and farm and food systems as business models. And in her spare time, she likes to hike and kayak and read, cook, travel, and hang out with her dog Bird. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Alexis Shank, and let her tell you some more about herself.
Right.
Okay, as Shireen said, I'm a local farmer. I've been farming for 8 years here, and she talked a lot about my farming methods. I sell exclusively in Indiana County through an online ordering system with customizable orders, and my farm is also a small scale aggregate for other local products. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. I also work for ICCD, focusing on agricultural conservation. And there I focus on all things from traditional conservation, focused on the conservation of natural resources, to more holistic and progressive programs, which I credit ICCD for creating the culture for. These programs are above and beyond what most conservation districts do. We have an agri-health initiative that focuses on farmer mental health. We have a Growing for Good Health initiative that works with senior populations to get them to do more growing, inspire them to have grow their own food, prioritize nutrition and health. And it also works to increase awareness of supplemental nutrition programs such as SNAP and Farmers Market Nutrition Programs. We also have the Hub for the Advancement of Specialty Crops at the ICCD campus. We have a greenhouse, high tunnel, specialty crop demo plots. And here we interact with the community and also producers, working to increase the growing of specialty crop production and pollinator habitat in Indiana County. And lastly, through our Linking the Food System grant, we've been working to link soil health to farm productivity and sustainability, work on farm economics, building farm networks, and mitigating food waste and increasing food access. And I just kind of wanted to put a little plug out for all of the programs that we do at ICC.
Right. So next I would like to have Ariel Coleman speak with us. She is originally from Northern Virginia, and she works for the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which is a program of the USDA. While she was in Virginia studying at Virginia State University, she earned her bachelor's in agriculture and a master's in biology. And so she's come here, and in March she became the district conservationist in Indiana, Pennsylvania, while also serving as the Disability Special Emphasis Program Manager for Pennsylvania, which promotes equal opportunities within NRCS. So outside of work, Ariel likes to spend time in outdoors, paint, craft, and be with the special people in her life. So now I would like Ariel to come on up here and tell us a little bit more about USDA and the NRCS program.
You.
All right, my name is Ariel Coleman. As you guys know, I'm the district conservationist here in Indiana. I just wanted to kind of step back and explain what NRCS does. We originated after the Dust Bowl happened in 1935, and Hugh Hammond, I'm not sure if anybody knows who that is, but it is somebody that was very much famous in conservation in developing NRCS as a government agency. I do want to let everybody know that everybody's been talking about government now, and government for us is non-regulatory, which means we're volunteer. People come to us, we don't force people to do conservation practices, but if you'd like, what we do is we're a technical agency that offers technical assistance and financial assistance delivered by the Farm Bill. And these are some of the resource concerns that we address. What we do every day is conservation planning for forestry, wildlife, cropland, animals, anything agriculture. NRCS is dipped into. We do workshops and we help farmers become better. Technical assistance. We go out there, we assess the land, we do site visits, we talk to people, we encourage people to put in conservation, no-till, cover cropping, things like that. We also have Farm Bill assistance by EQIP, CSP. These are big programs for NRCS and RCPP. And the way that you get started is giving me a call, giving our office a call. First, you're going to need to become a client with USDA to get any type of financial assistance with NRCS. But we do offer free technical assistance without having to give up any information. If you have any animals, forests, anything like that, any land uses. Other things we do are develop outreach material, we seek out new customers, we provide technical assistance, and we try to help people out. The best way that we can communicate, or Indiana farmers can communicate with the USDA, is through our local working groups and our state technical committee to advocate whatever limitations you feel NRCS is not delivering. And then Susan Perry from NRCS created this. And if I know there's a lot of partners in here and people that have nothing to do with agriculture, but if you guys would ever want to team up with NRCS and you feel a need to be a partner with us, you contact this lady, Susan Perry. All right.
Thank you very much. I first met Ariel a couple of months ago, and I knew you were not from here, and so I said, I want to help you understand and know the community. And I think I remember when I first moved here, and it's hard, you know, whenever you go to a new community, it's sometimes a challenge. So I am so thankful that you said yes to coming to this event here with us. Thank you. And about Susan Perry, I actually rode on a train to Albuquerque with Susan Perry so many years ago when we went to a training in Albuquerque. So that was fun. She is a great gal and will do just about anything. Wonderful public servant. And our final panelist is Justin Kurtz. He's with the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank. And I would like you say a few things about Justin. He's the partnership coordinator. When you wonder what's Pittsburgh doing in Indiana County? Well, they have a neat initiative where they're getting out into the rural areas. So he is the partnership coordinator for the food bank in Cambria and Indiana counties, where he primarily does the outreach to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Programs, SNAP. Justin attended Penn State University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in agricultural and extension education and a minor in international agriculture. So, a few fun facts about Justin. He loves mashed potatoes, plays the guitar, and has 2 pet rats in his home in Indiana. So, thank you, Justin. Come on up here and tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Thank you for that introduction. One time I was teaching a class about food systems, and I asked them the question of what are the marks of a successful food system? And together we came up with it's a food system where everybody can economically benefit from it. And then also, and what's most importantly to me, is a food system where everyone gets fed. And I'm here today to share about how I believe this program, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is a program where both of those goals in a food system can happen. And in order to do that, we have to understand the history of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. You see, back in the 1930s, the food stamp program was created in response to the Great Depression. It was a program where individuals could purchase stamps, actual stamps. It was an orange stamp, which was worth $1. They would purchase that $1 stamp, and then they would receive a 50-cent stamp, which they could use to purchase anything that the USDA deemed to be a commodity and surplus. So they bought a stamp for $1, got a free stamp, a subsidized stamp for 50 cents. Later on in the 1940s, this program was discontinued as they saw that the drastic effects of the Great Depression had subsided. But within the next 20 years, there was a lot of research done about what the benefit of having a food security net for the United States could yield. In the 1960s, in the West Virginia region of Appalachia, then campaigning President John F. Kennedy made a promise, that there would be a food subsidy program which would go to assist individuals most in need, especially those in rural communities such as Appalachia. Come the 1960s, this program was actually put into action as it was the food stamps program, which has been transformed and become a part of the Farm Security and Rural Investment Act, and is now a part of what was called in 2002, the Farm Bill. And you see, the reason I bring this up is because SNAP is a program which is not just meant to benefit those that are most in need, aka making sure that everyone gets fed in the food system. It's also a program to stabilize economies. Now, currently, mostly stabilizing the economy at a federal level. What I think is important is that we can utilize this program to stimulate economies here at the local level. And we're already doing this with SNAP. At the Indiana County Farmers Market, which happens at the bank every Saturday until from May to October, individuals who benefit from the SNAP program can go there with their SNAP card. It's no longer stamps, and hence why it's no longer called the food stamp program. They can go there with their SNAP card, and up to $20, they're matched. $20, they are matched dollar for dollar for goods that they can purchase there at the farmers market, which are distributed by local producers and local vendors. Goods which are both nourishing and nutritional. We see that this is a program which benefits local producers, local vendors, and individuals who are most at need for food assistance. There are some barriers to this, obviously, right? Not everybody can make it there on a Saturday. Not everybody has transportation to make it just to the farmer's market, and especially if you're coming from the outlying rural areas like Clymer or Cherry Tree, or even if you're coming from Homer City, it might be difficult to make it to a farmer's market on Saturday. So what I'm saying is that we need to continue supporting this program, but as a collective unit, we have to create programs which are similar to this in the sense that they directly benefit local producers while also directly benefiting individuals who are most at need for food assistance. And I'll share this, 66% of people on SNAP in Indiana County are either older adults, individuals with disabilities, or working families. Working families like mine growing up who benefited from this program when we did qualify. And so all of that to say that I think that SNAP is an excellent program. It's a part of this conversation, especially when you look at the legislation by which it comes from. And I'm most excited to continue this conversation outside of this room and look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Anti-poverty programs are just so vital to communities like ours, so I appreciate what you're doing. And so I'm gonna ask a question of our panelists, and then I would like it if you would come up here and tell us your thoughts on that. So Lex, the first question is for you. You're a farmer, you know these programs, and you know there are big challenges. Can you say a little bit about what those challenges are, and more importantly, what are the sustainable solutions that you have thought about and or implemented so that you can overcome these challenges?
Thank you, Sure. I really see there are four major challenges facing farmers. One, climate and extremes in weather. Two, land access. Three, prohibitive startup cost and front-end investment for new farming enterprises and a lack of funding for these. And four, strong, sustainable, diversified local markets. Solutions that I can offer. Climate change and extremes in weather. Obviously, we cannot control the weather, but farms can increase their preparedness by implementing climate-smart solutions. For commodity crops and vegetable producers, this is implementing cover crops, no-till and controlled tillage, and growing in protected culture is also known as greenhouses and high tunnels. For livestock farmers, this is rotational grazing systems. And for all farmers, it's building healthy soils because healthy soils are more resilient to fluctuations in climate and weather. And while these practices are effective, we must also recognize that these require large investments by the farmer. And most farmers cannot afford these. A greenhouse is $15,000 to $50,000. Rotational grazing system that we're implementing, $50,000 to $100,000. A no-till drill, $30,000 to $55,000. Thus, I think some solutions for this from an institutional level are: one, we need to incentivize these practices and work with farmers to enroll in existing programs. And currently we have a lot of programs for these in the county. And also in the state, PASA has their Climate Smart Solutions program that provides technical assistance for implementing these practices, financial support for plantings and equipment, marketing support, access to learning networks, and also some soil health, water and quality and other metrics. I know farmers enrolled in this program in the county, and they have nothing but great things to say about it. NRCS has their cover crop program. They will give up to $40,000 per farm to put cover crops in. They also have their EQIP that funds grazing systems. ICCD will be starting a cover crop incentive program this spring. And we have our agricultural conservation assistance program that is there to help with the implementation of grazing systems and other conservation efforts on farms that will help to increase their profitability. Two, I think we need to offer things like rental programs for expensive equipment to small producers. Another thing at ICCD that we'll be doing starting next year is renting a no-till drill to local producers to increase the amount of cover crop that is happening in our county. And lastly, we need to address the funding gap specifically for specialty crop producers. I feel very passionately about this as a specialty crop producer. Currently, we don't have any assistance for vegetable farmers through conservation districts. NRCS has very limited funding when it comes to that. They offer about $10,000 for a high tunnel, which doesn't even cost the kit alone, let alone the installation of that kit. Thus, we need to advocate for additional funding streams to be allocated to this underfunded segment of the farming population. When it comes to land access and front-end costs for farmers, I'm going to address these kind of together. Unless you're a generational farmer, which there are less and less of, land access, especially land in proximity to strong local markets, and startup costs are some of the biggest challenges facing new farmers. Farming is a low-profit enterprise with high upfront investment in infrastructure, facilities, and equipment. And for vegetable farmers, I can speak to specifically, it often takes years to turn profit. Thus, I think if we want to see more farms and start and thrive, we need to consider the following. One, creating incubator farms for small-scale producers to build markets while using shared infrastructure. There are some really great private and public models for these. Dan Brown, who's an innovator in regenerative ag out of North Dakota, he has an apprenticeship program that is then followed by they get to have their own enterprise on his farm, and he can use his sales networks to go ahead and build their business. Also, Pittsburgh has a incubator farm where you can rent a plot of land and start your farm there versus having to start by your own land at the start. I feel that this is something that Indiana County could seriously benefit from. Two, I think we need to shift the focus of our assistance programs offered by our agencies. Traditional programs focus on addressing resource concerns created by the farms. And while this is fantastic for both the farms and the environment, I think we need to make room for / allocate new funding to invest in growing good farms from the ground up. And also invest in farms that are doing everything right but need assistance. And then the fourth challenge would be building a strong, diversified market for local goods. And this is something I have a real passion and interest for. I will start with a quick fact here. The 2022 Census for Agriculture in Indiana County revealed that only 23% of our farms sold over $50,000 worth of commodities, while 67% are less than $25,000. With typical profit margins of 10 to 15% for farms, nearly all of our farmers rely on off-farm employment to survive and not fall below the poverty line. Moreover, farms go to untenable lengths to sell and market their goods, often spending 2 full work days per week selling / traveling regionally to markets and are barely scraping by. We need to build a strong local market to support our farms. In some ways, I think we can do this. One, assisting with the creation of local and regional food hubs and cooperatives, removing the burden of sales from the farmer, providing farms with access to additional sales outlets, and providing local customers with a more convenient option to purchase local products. This would also benefit programs like SNAP, where people could come at different times versus our 3-hour time frame that we have for our current market. There's a lot of state and federal funding for this. And I feel like institutions and our counties and development agencies should prioritize this and assist farmers with finding funding and the implementation of these practices. Two, I think we need to build relationships between institutions and farms, and also between local institutions in general. Specifically, I'm speaking of our food assistance programs, schools, farms, hospitals. I'll throw a few facts out here to go with Justin's. More than 9,000 people, 1 in 9 in Indiana County, live with hunger. Indiana County has an overall food insecurity rate of 11.1%, with rates among children over 12. And obesity rates in Indiana County are nearly the highest in the state. We are the second highest. In order to combat these issues, we need to be connecting and utilizing federal and state funding, like the Pennsylvania Agricultural Surplus Program, also known as PASS, along with farm to school funds. And where these fall short, we need local businesses to fill the gaps with sponsorship of these food assistance programs, to purchase local farm products and put them in the hands of our populations affected by food insecurity. This will not only increase the health and wellness of our community, but as Justin spoke to earlier, this will provide an additional income stream to our farmers, adding resiliency to our food system. We also need to build more connections between institutions like farms and our hospitals to get healthy food to the populations that need it most. Three, I think we need to build some farmer-to-farmer connections and foster cooperation between farms. A lot of farms function very independently. There is a lot of power and profit in aggregation. I can personally attest to this. I have been aggregating products from local and regional farms to sell through my farm for the past 4 years. Each year I purchase around $10,000 to $15,000 worth of product. I resell that at 20 to 50% more, depending on the wholesale rate that I get. And I increase my bottom line by $2,000 to $600,000 per year and support my other local farmers. Additionally, aggregating products gives me a wider variety, increases my response rate from my customers, and increases my sales in a secondary way. We need to expand our data on aggregation, educate farms on its potential profitability, and assist farms with forming connections. And I think 4, we need to really study and foster new ways to sell and market farm goods / explore some novel business models. The traditional markets, farmers markets, food hubs, wholesale, and restaurant sales, these are all great, but I think there are really considerable weaknesses in these models and possibly better, more efficient, or maybe just new ways to sell. My own farm, I started working, I would sell at the local farmers market 2 days a week, and then I sold to Pittsburgh restaurants. Each week I spent around 12 to 15 hours per week off farm selling goods. When COVID hit, I decided to pivot my business model to an online ordering system with customizable orders and a pickup. I now only harvest what I need. There's no overage. My customers and I only spend about 4 hours a week on sales, 2 hours off farm. I think, and another farm, local farm, does the exact same, only with text and a home delivery service. And then there's another farm that aggregates and has both a bakery, a store. They rent their flower field out to customers for photography. They do farm to table dinners there, and they have an entire enterprise which all of the family members have their own section of. I really think that these models and others have potential for expansion to regional cooperatives that can offer home delivery or as a pickup, or using this type of model working as a cooperative to sell to restaurants. I mean, right now, locally, restaurants are being outcompeted in the Pittsburgh market by Clarion River Organics because they have organized into a cooperative and can sell to restaurants. I know that was kind of a long answer, but what I'm getting at is I'm really passionate about this. I think we have the means, models, and potential to create a more resilient food system and to tackle many of the challenges facing our farms and community members today. I think we just need to organize, educate, study, and get some hard data and work together to obtain the funding, make connections, and advocate for the systems that we need to do it.
Well, thank you for that. Really?
Give her a couple questions. Couple short questions.
Okay, well, how about one question, Tom? Because we want to keep on.
How do you help local farmers deal with industrial scale food production and processing?
I am not on that level of farming, unfortunately. I don't think I can answer that question adequately.
Well, you're dealing with local farmers, though.
I am, but I'm a small scale vegetable farmer, so I don't really go with the industrial scale of that. Are we looking at like industrial scale production of like vegetables, or are we looking at like commodity crops like corn and soybeans or grains?
Food items that people consume at the grocery store, whether it's meat or produce or whatever.
You're looking at like scaling those up to an industrial level?
I'm asking how can you help the local small scale farmers deal with that kind of competition from industrial scale?
Yeah, I think we need to have a market that caters more to the people that are looking for that scale. I don't think there's any way that a local producer can compete with in the industrial complex of food. I think we just have to create a different culture whereby people are prioritizing buying a small scale producer's food, and then have the accessibility of options where it is convenient for people to purchase those. Because right now we can't compete with the convenience and the price point of the industrial food system where we're at.
There's local farmers in the county, I lost my train of thought. To what extent do they depend on other sources of revenue in order to continue in business, not just from what they grow and sell, such as royalties from gas wells? Is there much of that going on?
If Ariel is working with some of the farmers around, you might have some insight into that. I know.
It's not a lot I don't think we have a lot of data on that.
Yeah, I guess.
I know some people do from talking to local farmers. I know a lot of farmers do from get royalties from their gas wells that are on their properties.
They work other jobs. Some
The small local farmers that I know also have
full-time job.
I have a part-time job.
Yeah.
Half of mine.
Well, I really appreciate the detail. It's pretty clear that, I mean, you didn't get into this line of work to be competing with the industrial scale farmer. I mean, and you're right, it's about creating a culture and a community around that kind of activity. So I do appreciate your answers and your thoughtfulness to that. Thank you. So I'd like to ask Ariel next. You have some insight, a lot of insight through your work with NRCS with farmers who are both what Ariel or Alexis does, but also, some larger, crops, the normal, like, corn, beans, that sort of thing. So, and that's an important element of our agricultural sector. And so there are myriad programs, and you outlined a lot of them and gave us a lot of initials and, acronyms and so on, which is all good, and I'm a little familiar with those programs and how they can help. But I wonder if you could, and I know you have to protect privacy, but can you talk about some of the farmers that you may have been helped, or either directly by you or through your agency, and where you have seen like real change happen to help benefit that farmer and their family? So I wonder if you could speak a little bit to that, and whatever else you feel like you want us to know about that, about what you do. Thank you.
So I would say that in Pennsylvania, I've seen quite a few success stories about cover crop, conservation crop rotation, strip cropping, but that's not, I understand the question very well, but I think that mainly for this panel, I wanted to go over like how NRCS could help the food system in Pennsylvania here in Indiana. And I think that there are success stories. We have heavy use areas coming up from that NRCS is funding in Indiana County. We're putting down cover crop, thousands of acres of it. We are, fencing off cattle from streams. We're reducing our amount of nutrients that are going into surface water. We're addressing resource concerns that I had up here earlier. But I do think that NRCS does have challenges and limitations that they can do for farmers because we are a technical agency. We do not help people become farmers. You need to be a farmer to work with us. And so it's a little difficult navigating that, but I think that our role in this county is to produce healthier soils, healthier food. Overall, if we have good soil, if we're building our organic matter, if we're not causing any erosion downstream or by ourselves, we're doing better. And also our conservation systems and making sure that we are advocating for allocations in this county. And I think that mainly NRCS does have a way to go. I do want to talk about I'm not sure who mentioned it, but the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, that is something that is changing lives at this point. It's a $1 billion investment that the Biden-Harris administration did in 2022 to invest in conservation, which has never happened in history. So it's something that I think that reducing greenhouse emissions, making sure that we're regulating and keeping our water clean, like everybody's been saying, and ensuring that we're doing our due diligence is really important. And also, when spoke here, I'm thinking the number one thing we can do as NRCS is to provide that technical assistance, have people know our name, to go to us whenever they need, sorry, people walking out the door distracts me highly. But yeah, I think that overall, NRCS has, we have success stories. I know, like Shireen says, with the federal government, we cannot release any type of information, but it is one of those things where I know a lot of y'all are not farmers, but you guys might know farmers. And if they are in Indiana, I would direct them to us at NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service. We're off 286. And we're looking to bring more people into the office, let people know we're here, our presence are here. We hold integrity and we make sure that we deliver what we're intended to do, which is ultimately help people help the land. So I think that overall, The best thing that NRCS can do in Indiana is to have a presence, to give site visits, to give us, offer technical assistance for forestry, livestock, animals, cropland, and to ultimately make sure that they know that if they are not satisfied with us, that they can take it up with the state office and they can also talk to them. But if you don't advocate for yourself, NRCS state office and nationally will not understand your frustrations and your limitations. So again, I'm going to emphasize to go to the state technical committee and go to our local working group, which will probably be happening January, February of 2025. And show up, and make sure that you let people know what you're frustrated with, and we can see what we can do. I have been told that they do address these things, and they understand that not everybody's happy with this. So, I guess, that's all I'm gonna say, is that NRCS is here.
It's fair to point out and to acknowledge government is limited and bureaucracy sometimes just doesn't work so great. But I know, and I think we all can understand, there are human beings at the end in these positions, and they do care, and they are really good, trusted public servants. And so I appreciate what you are doing. You made some really good points that, if you're not a farmer, and I bet 10 farmers, encourage them. Tell them, you've heard this information, and there's some information on the table over there. Encourage them to seek it out. Maybe it's not for them, but maybe it can be. And if it brings resources to their bottom line, that helps them, that helps our communities. So thank you for what you're doing, Ariel. We appreciate that. Now, finally, Justin, I want to sort of on the same vein as with Lex. You're a community-based organization, and you have challenges, your organization, and also your target population certainly has challenges. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing with the organization and this new initiative in the counties? Talk a little bit more about how you're overcoming the challenges.
So the main challenge with the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program and any sort of food assistance program in general, I would say is the cultural narrative and the norms around them. And more so, I think that we have to challenge our ontological views of individuals who receive food assistance, meaning what do we think is true and what does the community believe about individuals or populations who receive food assistance, right? When it comes down to it, when we hear of someone being on SNAP, what used to be known as food stamps, there may be some assumptions made by that individual or by the community members. Things like, oh, that person may not actually deserve it, that person may not be using it correctly, whatever that might be. And so I think that most importantly, and what I see as a foremost priority in my position, is to challenge those cultural narratives, which would assume that food assistance programs are really just to, help people not help themselves. We have to see these food assistance programs, and not just SNAP, but future assistance programs which have yet to even be created. We have to see these as opportunities, not just to help these individuals, but to help our community at large, right? This is not a hand out, it's a hand up. And so all of that to say that if you leave here and if you don't listen to anything else or don't remember anything else that I mentioned, it's that SNAP is a really wonderful program. It's a program which helps folks have increased access to foods that they choose to be dietarily appropriate to them, whether it's because of their culture or their dietary needs or just because of whatever. And then also, not to say that that program is perfect, but also there are still folks who would qualify for SNAP benefits, okay, who have the opportunity to take those dollars and then put them back into Indiana County. There are still folks in Indiana County who qualify for SNAP benefits and who are not currently enrolled in the program. And so the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank, we also have a really wonderful service where if a neighbor, your neighbor, whoever, or you can call us and we'll apply with and for them over the phone in 30 minutes or less, right? Which can reduce the barriers of if someone isn't quite as familiar with how to utilize the Compass platform, which is an internet application. If they're not as versed in that, or maybe they don't have transportation to get to certain places, if they know how to upload documents with their phone, we may be even able to save them a trip, okay? And so the services we provide, completing SNAP applications over the phone, is a great way to reduce barriers to access to that program. Increased access to that program will inherently mean increased funding coming to Indiana County via the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
I heard that you have seen the trend here between the farmer, the technical assistance for producers, and the organization that helps get the food to the consumer. This is how it goes. So we have some time for questions. I thank these panelists all for their very thoughtful answers. So, Gina, go ahead.
So, this is actually more of a comment than a question. It's interesting, just listening to, Alexis. Wait, yes, Alexis. What happened? This is not the right, that's not the right slide. So anyway, Alexis and Justin, I didn't, because I was missing my notes this morning, one of the most emotional conversations I've had with a farmer is someone that sat on our board. Of course, all of our farmers implement sustainable practices, and they were talking about viability of the farmer. And dear friend of mine now, she was in tears because she was saying how her children have to be on medical assistance, have to use state programming, and they actually qualify for SNAP because they just don't make enough money. And it was almost heartbreaking because they're out here advocating for other farmers, and yet they don't have what they need. And so just wanted to shed light that, man, that just moves your heart, and you want to make sure that we're doing all we can to lift them up so they can lift us up, because we need their food, right, to sustain us. But I do have a question for Justin. How are you working with farmers to provide food in the SNAP program?
So currently, it's mostly through a joint effort with folks like Lex and Ariel in the local farmers market, just to support the narrative around the beneficial narrative around having SNAP feeding in an important source for bolstering local food systems. And really, this is just the beginning.
How does a farmer connect with you to qualify to provide, maybe it's food waste, maybe it's food they can't use anymore? Is there something that you do with that?
Yeah, so there's always a conversation around if a farmer wanted to, maybe participate in donating surplus products or even potentially a weeding program. There's a conversation that can come from our food recovery team, which will connect local grocery stores, local farmers, and so forth to local food banks and pantries for those surplus goods. And so, yeah, there's a conversation to be had there, and a farmer could really just reach out to me, not to say that I would have the answers to how to get that operation or that system into place, but I would be able to connect them with folks that could potentially get that system into place.
Something we're having a conversation about, Dustin and I are both part of the Collective Impact Initiative Working Group, of course, with the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank. We're on the agricultural subcommittee. And we have formed a few connections with this over the past season. The great ICAP, our local food bank, did buy from local producers from a connection that we made for all of their senior boxes. We are looking to expand that with some letting up of the funds of the past funds. We're hoping to create relationships between local farmers and be able to link those two things together, because we always have seconds and surplus and all of those things that if we can find a home for it and add another revenue stream, it's amazing. So, and it get it to, low income population.
I will say there's a lot of collaboration happening. I mean, these are 3 of probably dozens of folks in the space talking about those kinds of things. So, very good question. You had a question?
Mine was essentially the same. I know that there are some programs that actually provide vouchers to people who are getting food assistance. I'm thinking of WIC, but I didn't know if perhaps SNAP did something similar with vouchers for farmers markets, where customers are actually coming directly to farmers markets with something like a voucher that will enable them to purchase produce locally.
There is one, it's mostly based on seniors, it's a farmers market nutrition program, they are checks. I don't know the specifics on it, I don't know, there's an age limitation, there is also a number of checks that they get per season. I am not familiar enough with that program, but there is a program for that.
There's actually a veterans voucher that I just saw. And I think the farmers market website or Facebook page share some details on that, but these are all relatively new ideas, but really helpful things in getting, connecting the consumers with food in kind of in a dignified way too. I think that's an important conversation. So, very good question. Yes, okay, I saw this young lady here.
Understand, short.
Sure.
Hi. So I've seen starting up with the advent of Misfits Market. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about it, but they take in produce that maybe people don't want anymore. It's not really appealing for larger stores. And recently with the advent of Harvey in the Pittsburgh area, which takes products from local communities, small businesses, and take them, sign up for like a subscription box and have this delivered to your house with all this food from local services or damaged goods, or maybe it's potatoes that are a little bit too small and might not look good on a Walmart shelf, picturesque. How do you see this changing the future of food distribution and access to small scale farms in the future, and what that might have an impact on in all of your services?
I think it's a great business model, that I think needs to be replicated on all different scales. So I love that you brought it up. I think it's a way that also can connect some of even like the lesser things or other things to get them everywhere that they have to go. Because I think that right now we struggle with how to get things to people, and there's only limited amount of times that people can access them, and we're not accessing all the markets that we can utilize. I don't know if I'm answering this question entirely correctly, but I think it's a fantastic model, and I think it should be expanded on all different levels, small, large, all around. And something I would like to see come about with, us doing a cooperative of some sort locally. We're looking at both food hubs and cooperatives, and a food hub requires a lot more investment, but something like that has a lot less overhead, where it's just a warehouse with the vans that deliver the food, and it's a really great business model. So thank you for bringing it up. I think another one that's great, if you guys aren't familiar with it, is 412 Food Rescue. If you aren't, look them up. They're phenomenal. They have a volunteer-based organization that they go pick up surplus everywhere. They bring it back to the warehouse and they get it to people in need. So it's another great organization.
Yes.
Do you know how big the potential impact is going to be for the local programs like SNAP of the proposed farm bill?
Unfortunately, I don't know. No. At one point though, there was a cut of about 90 billion federally for the SNAP benefits. Where that's currently at, I have no idea. But I do know from speaking with Congressman Glenn Thompson, who is PA District 15, I think, as a U.S. House of Representatives, and also the chair of the Agricultural Committee. I do know that there is not an increase coming in the future. So there is that. There's not an increase, chances of decrease. So the conversation right now is how can we, A, keep those funds prevalent, and then B, use them in a way that makes sense to everybody.
Other questions? Okay, well, we thank our panel again with a round of applause.